This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Ben Sears at Ben Sears on Letterboxd.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com and more podcasts presented by Obsessive Viewer at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. And if you'd like to support what we do here, you can become a patron at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer, where we have several different reward or donation tiers, Patreon tiers, that you can get. So at the $1 per month level, you'll get access to over 150 at this point, probably exclusive B-roll episodes. We just recorded a very nice one about film festivals and our fantasies about film festivals and film festival screenings and stuff.
G-rated fantasies.
And also there is that prerequisite cat talk at the beginning of that as well. And at the $2 level, you get that plus TV review and reaction episodes. I am currently doing episode reviews of Chapelwaite on Epix, based on the Stephen King short story Jerusalem's Lot, starring Adrian Brody. And by the time you're listening to this, I'm also doing my episode reviews of Apple TV Plus's adaptation of the iconic Isaac Asimov sci-fi series Foundation, which premiered when you're listening to this last Friday with 2 episodes. And I'm very excited because those episodes, those Patreon episodes, I'm going to have posted in tandem with the episodes dropping on Apple TV Plus. So the second that the episodes air on Apple TV Plus, that review will be posted on Patreon. So again, that's at the $2 level. And then at the $5 level, you get all of that plus movie commentary tracks and immediate reviews. I have commentaries for Ex Machina, It Chapter 2, Throne of Blood, The Shining, Dr. Sleep, and a bunch of other stuff too. And finally, at the $10 a month level, you get all of that I've just said, plus early access to podcast episodes, previously unreleased content, and bonus deleted scenes and stuff. Like with the early access episodes, what I've been doing is putting together the Patreon recording and the episode, and then just filling that section in between those 2 recordings with just deleted scenes, I guess, of shit that they don't know that I'm recording. So look forward to Ben's very hateful rant in the early access for that.
Oh no, I'm gonna be canceled.
Yes. Okay, so again, all of that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Everything that we make on the Patreon goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running or paying to upgrade the equipment and everything. I'm still I have everything upgraded and everything, but I just spent a little bit more on a new USB microphone to kind of have as, I don't know, I'm in a crazy headspace, but in terms of portability and everything, even though Heartland's not doing press stuff this year, unfortunately, but wisely because of COVID, I want to be in a position the next time that the world is normal to do more press stuff with the film festivals here. So I'm slowly checking off all of these boxes that I have of stuff that I want to get, equipment that I want to get, and everything. So again, that is my super long-winded way of saying that if you have the means and you want to support us, check out patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. So, I'm your host, the aforementioned Matt Hurt, and with me today is recurring co-host and contributing reviewer on obsessiveviewer.com, Ben Sears. How is it going, Ben?
I'm good. You know,
Nice.
I should have asked you before we started recording if we should do our intros either as Clint Eastwood or if we could sing.
Oh, yeah. Man, you know, it would not be the first time that I sing along to something on a recording.
Yes, I know this.
Which is super...
but have you done it? Have you sung as Clint Eastwood?
No. And I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if I've sang in the form of a Clint Eastwood thing. And to be honest, I've lost track of if I had. So the question I have to ask you is, do you feel lucky, punk?
I had a feeling earlier today that would come up. As I just wasn't sure how.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
To be honest, I've never seen Dirty Harry, so I'm going purely off of pop culture. So I hope I got that reference right.
I watched it at some point last year, just at random.
Okay.
And I felt terrible almost immediately because it was not like in the middle of it, but shortly after the whole George Floyd protest thing.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's about a cop who plays by his own rules. And shoots first and asks questions later.
Mm-hmm.
So,
jeez,
didn't feel too great about that afterwards.
Sure. I think I remember you mentioning that on the podcast at one point.
I might have.
That's something. And also, this could kind of feed into the review, but I'll say it now. Before I forget, the Man with No Name trilogy is on HBO Max. I saw that I think it was just added maybe this month.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, and we'll talk more in the review, but after seeing that movie, I was just like, I kind of want to go through at least the Man with No Name trilogy, because I think I've only seen A Fistful of Dollars. I've never seen The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and I'm not sure if I've seen For a Few Dollars More.
I've only seen the Community episodes that rip them off.
Yes. Oh my God, Community. Yeah, those episodes are epic.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay. So usually we have some kind of news or interesting factoids to bring up, but I really don't have much of anything. We talked off mic about maybe talking about the Emmys a little bit, but I don't know if you have anything, because Ted Lasso was a big winner.
Yep.
I'm sure that made you all excited. By the way, check out Ben's reviews of season 2 episodes of Ted Lasso on the website.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how'd you feel about that?
It was all right. I think I watched most, if not all, of the show.
Okay.
I did not see Hannah Waddingham win. I did not see Brett Goldstein win, or the Brett Goldstein avatar.
That's still so funny to me.
I should check that out on YouTube. I should watch his acceptance speech.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I watched the rest of it, I'm pretty sure, other than those two.
Nice.
I have not seen The Queen's Gambit or Mare of Easttown or The Crown, so
Me neither.
I felt pretty left out by a lot of it.
Yeah.
So,
do you have any interest in seeing those? Are those going to be on your viewing docket? I get the sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the sense that you are maybe not in a, I don't know if I'd say not in the position, but maybe I get the sense that you don't really prioritize TV watching versus movie watching.
I have been watching some TV, not as much as I feel like I should, but to answer your question, I do want to watch Mare of Easttown. I do want to watch The Crown. I watched the first season, and then for whatever reason, I liked the first season. For whatever reason, I just never picked it back up.
Okay.
No desire to watch The Queen's Gambit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those shows that I've heard like nothing but acclaim for.
Yes.
But it's also something that I like Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yes, same here.
But I'm also like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to invest my time in a limited series about, like, a period drama about chess.
Yeah.
From what I understand of it.
It just feels like a very Netflixy thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like prestige Netflix stuff.
Yeah. And I don't technically know if I can define that, but
right.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So did you, I didn't see this, and I've only really read headlines, so I might be setting you up for, failure or whatever, but by putting the onus of all of this information onto you. But did you see / hear, or are you cognizant of the, I guess, backlash that Seth Rogen got?
Yes.
Okay, what happened there? Because what I understand is that he did like a funny like presentation or monologue or something where he called attention to the fact that they were skirting COVID protocols.
Yeah.
And well, why don't you tell us about that, Ben?
Well, this was part of the show that I did not see because I think it was like right at the opening.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, he basically, I don't think it was a comedy bit. I think he was being serious.
Oh, interesting.
He was talking about how the producers of the show or whoever runs it said that they would be in a tent or in a outdoor space or something like that.
Okay.
And if they were in a tent, it was the nicest fucking tent I've ever seen. Because it just looked like, just any other awards show, pretty much.
Dang.
But he was complaining that it didn't feel safe to him, I guess, because they were all in a confined space. Mm-hmm. But then the producers said, no, he knew what was going on. He went to rehearsal. Mm-hmm. He knew that everyone there had to be vaccinated and take a negative COVID test.
Okay.
So they had worked with the local health department. So it wasn't just some shoddy production.
Right.
It was, it was up to code and, kosher and everything. So,
okay.
I don't know. I don't know whose side I fall on here.
Interesting. I'll have to dig into that, and see where I land. Because honestly, I mean, my perception of it was that it was just a comedy bit that he was doing. But if he was saying that more seriously, then that opens up a whole other can of worms, I think.
Well, at least based on what the producers are saying, I don't think they took it as a joke.
Okay. Yeah, it does sound like damage control on their part.
And
interesting.
I didn't see this, but they were saying that they had to make an announcement like at some point in the show about how they did follow all the protocols and it was safe and the health department signed off on it. So they were doing damage control like in the show. So
oh wow. Okay. Yeah. And what's interesting is, to my knowledge, I think LA doesn't have that many restrictions in terms of like public people gathering in public places and everything. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget because it's always up and down everywhere. So it's hard to keep track of who's doing what.
Right. Yeah, so that's interesting. My only comment, I didn't watch the Emmys or anything, but my only comment on it is a bit of a rant that I'm going to go on just really quick. So I don't know the full name of the category, but I think it's like pre-recorded live performance or something like that. I know
where you're going with this.
Yeah, and Hamilton won.
Yes, it did. Now,
I adore Hamilton. And I recognize that performance, like capturing that on video, like it's not, they didn't just, Lin-Manuel Miranda's like mother wasn't in the back row with a tripod and a camera filming it and everything. Like this was a massive production. They did so many things with the camera angles, the camera work and everything, the transitions, the timing of it all. Like it was a big production to put it on film and put it on to Disney Plus. However, it beat Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yes, it did.
And that is honestly, I'm holding myself back from saying like just very big platitudes or very big statements, but like that's a travesty that is unforgivable and not like I don't understand that at all. Like, yeah.
Well, there's a cynical answer to that, but
oh yeah,
it also beat David Burton's American Utopia, which I loved, which is another, staged musical that was shot on film. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't shot, 4 or 5 years ago. Or
right.
Whatever. So
yeah, that's the other thing. Like my big issue with it isn't that it's a stage production that was done like in like 2016 or whenever it was, but it's the fact that Bo Burnham didn't win. And I say that not as I'm not saying that as like, oh, I'm a Bo Burnham fan and the person that I'm a fan of didn't win, so I'm going to poo-poo all over everything else. That's not the case. The reason why I feel like Bo Burnham's Inside should have won is because it is it is a complete production that he did by himself, and just the artistry of that, the attention to detail, the meticulousness of it, and even the meta aspect of it with him. Whether it's performative or not doesn't matter to me, but him kind of exposing himself, his anxiety, his stress during lockdown in a global pandemic that was killing thousands of people and continues to kill many people.
Yeah.
Because assholes. But all of that, like from an artistic standpoint, Bo Burnham's Inside is not only one of the best comedy specials I've ever seen in my entire life, but it is something that literally transcends that format to be something new entirely.
The artistry of it goes toe to toe with a, multi, however, whatever their budget was, production of Hamilton on Broadway. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. But also, the other big reason why is that the way that piece of art, like Bo Burnham's Inside, the way that as a singular piece of art captures not only the kind of the communal experience that we as people have undergone during a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Plandemic if you're a fucking idiot. But a global pandemic, but also it throws in like very, very apropos, very relevant. Honest and relevant social commentary about technology, our society, our pop culture, our like. It's all encompassing, and like
Jeff Bezos,
CEO, entrepreneur, born in 1964. But yeah, it is a remarkable piece of art, and to think that it got there, to see that it got the shaft, is such a disservice to it, and it sucks. It's a bummer. Yep.
Hopefully, he uses this as fuel to direct another amazing movie.
Yes, I'm really. I think when 8th Grade came out, I said like I hope that he has more stories in him as a director, and then he comes out with Inside, and I'm just like I didn't know I wanted this, I didn't know I needed this, but I need it, and he's brilliant. But also now that he has dropped out of that Larry Bird or Celtics show or whatever, I'm curious if. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs, but I'm curious if he is going to line up another project that he is in more control over.
We can only hope.
I really hope so.
We'll break it to you guys here first.
Yes, we will. Okay, so I don't really have any other news or anything. The only other thing I had was a new Paranormal Activity is coming out October 29th, but I feel I feel like that's not really your bag.
I really liked the first one.
Okay.
And I remember liking the second one a little bit less. I can't remember if I ever watched the third.
Okay.
But yeah, I really like the first one. The
third one is solid, and the fourth one is a bit off the rails, but I will say that it has... I think that's like one of, is it Catherine Newton? One of her like early roles. She was in Blockers and Freaky. And like, I don't know, she's like a really good up and coming actress. So,
yeah.
But yeah. And then I fell off after that. But when it was announced, and I shouldn't say this because it's not going to happen, but when it was announced, I was like, oh, okay. So The new one, it's called Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. It's going to be on Paramount Plus on October 29th. And I was like, wow, that's like right around Halloween. and that's really good. And like when it was announced, I was like, there's 7, that's going to be the 7th Paranormal Activity movie, which,
good Lord.
Yeah, which, holy shit, it's going to be the 7th Paranormal Activity movie. But also at the time I was like, there's 7 weeks until then. And the $5 Patreon tier, I do commentary tracks.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I was just like, I can't commit to that. But maybe like a week or two before that, I might power through because I'm going to watch all of them again because I'm excited to watch it.
Okay.
But yeah, so anyway, yeah, that's coming down the pipe. Is it down the pipe or down the pike? Okay. Yeah.
I'm shrugging my shoulders.
Yes, I was just going to say, Ben shrugged his shoulders. Pizza is sleeping. And, yeah, I don't know. Toby the Demon is just watching us record. Okay, so anyway, that's Paramount Plus, October 29th. We might have something on Patreon. We might have something on the feed. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm excited about it. October is a busy, busy month.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Which let's briefly, before we get into our Cry Macho review, talk a little bit about that because we've got No Time to Die, which I've said this before and I will say it again. Every time I hear that title, I picture James Bond running late for work and like going to like walking down the sidewalk to get to like a Starbucks and then like people like interrupting him being like, oh, James Bond, how's it going? And he's just like, I cannot die right now. I cannot die right now. I need my coffee. Yeah.
Did you ever watch when he hosted Saturday Night Live?
Excuse me. No, but there is a Twitter account called The Weeknd where, because one at least, I don't know if he's hosted multiple times, but one of the times the musical act, The Weeknd was the musical guest. And there is, I might try to go ahead and find it here because it's really funny, or it's really, I don't know. So there is a Twitter account that it's like Craig the Weeknd. Let me find it here. Okay, it's at Craig Weeknd, and it's basically every Friday they post this like 2-second video clip of Daniel Craig hosting.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd.
And that's every Friday. They just post that. That's all that they post. So yeah. But no, anyway, so what did your anecdote about
October.
That? Oh, I was going to hosting SNL.
I have not watched it yet, but I just remember hearing how funny it was.
Nice.
That's all.
Okay.
I haven't watched SNL much lately.
Yeah, me neither. I do love Daniel Craig.
Yes.
Yeah. So October, we've got No Time to Die. October 6th, I think is when it opens.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, and then we've got Halloween Kills, which I'm sure you're excited about. Of course, Dune.
Yep.
Big like that. Yeah, I can't wait.
Don't forget Venom, There Will Be Carnage.
Oh, yes, Venom, There Will Be Carnage, which I think is coming out
October 1st.
October 1st, yeah.
It got moved up, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, since you brought up Venom, There Will Be Carnage, and since you're not on Facebook and so you couldn't see my amazing post, so the beginning of the first 39 seconds of one of the trailers for Venom, There Will Be Carnage, perfectly sums up my relationship with pizza. And so I'm going to play that here for all to hear.
Lady here. We should be out there snacking on bad guys. I am a predator. I need to be free.
You have got to get control of your aggression. We will get hauled off into Area 51. You live in my body. You live by my rules.
I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Please let me fix it so I can forget it again. You are a so.
So I just feel like everything that Venom says there is something my cat would say.
Wow.
I'm a predator. You're a loser. I'm sorry. Let me see so I can break it again. Yeah. So yeah. That is my only interest really in seeing Venom. There Will Be Carnage. Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah.
Even though I mean, the first one was surprisingly okay. Yeah.
I have not seen it. I actually just picked it up from the library today. So
interesting.
Try to watch it before that.
Okay.
But, also, the Sopranos prequel, I think.
Yeah. The Many Saints
I was curious
of
about
Newark.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
You have never seen the Sopranos, right?
I've seen like the first 5 episodes, but
Okay.
I might as well not to, because it was when I was going to the gym and I would watch an episode on like the treadmill or the elliptical or what have you. And then I immediately realized, oh wait, this is an HBO show. I can't watch this at the gym in public. So I dropped off from that.
I was curious if you had any desire to watch it if you have never seen the show.
You know, that's an interesting question because I've seen the trailer a few times, and obviously like The Sopranos has such a pedigree and such a big stake in pop culture as a reference point and everything, and it was a big cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so on that hand, yes, I feel like at some point I will watch The Sopranos, but I at some point will. So in that respect, like I'm very curious about this movie.
Yeah.
And every time I see the trailer, I'm like, I'm fascinated by the fact that Gandolfini's son is playing young Tony Soprano.
Right.
Like that is endlessly fascinating to me. But I also just feel like there's like a little bit of, I don't know if imposter syndrome is the right word, but maybe like a little bit of low grade insecurity in me that's like, I haven't watched The Sopranos, so like this movie isn't for me.
Right.
So should I see it, even though, I mean, it is a prequel. So, I mean,
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of like references to the show.
Every time that I've seen the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they just referenced his uncle, whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's probably a character that had a big role in The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So have you watched The Sopranos?
Nope.
Okay. Are you going to see The Many Saints of Newark?
Probably not.
Okay.
For those same reasons.
Gotcha. Have you seen the trailer though?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I would say check out the trailer and see just as an experiment to see if you have a similar reaction to me, because like I'm very conflicted on whether or not I want to check it out or if it's something that I'll eventually watch when I eventually get to The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Which very, very much could be never. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that's coming out next month too.
The French Dispatch.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Last Night in Soho.
Oh, I keep
Very
forgetting about
excited
Last Night in
those.
Soho.
Yeah.
Damn.
What else?
Not to mention the Heartland Film Festival.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, which, I mean, yeah. It's funny because Mike will, like, usually every year, Mike will send me a message or like he'll, around this time of year, he'll talk about like, oh, Shocktober and like how, you know, he's watching a lot of horror movies and stuff. And then he'll like ask me like, oh, how's your Shocktober going? And I'm like, I mean, I cannot die right now. No, I'm just like, I mean, I've got Heartland stuff and new releases that aren't horror related. Like I just don't have the time to really like sit down and just mainline a bunch of horror movies as much as I would love to. But yeah.
And this is probably, no one's going to care about this, but October 15th is a big deadline for us at work.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Nobody has like forbidden me from taking off work around that time, but I can't.
Okay.
So
it's like an understood rule.
Yes, pretty much. If I want to ever work there again and have health insurance.
Oh yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So October's a big
Get
month.
ready for lots of output from us.
I know, right?
Not to mention another Roger Ebert's great movie.
Yes, and we've got to do that too. Damn. Not that I'm not excited about that, but so much on the plate, and I'm really, really hoping that we can pull off some good Heartland content. So look forward to that. So any other stuff to bring up?
Related to Heartland, I believe I have a pack of 5 tickets since I was technically on the screeners team.
Oh, nice.
So if anyone out there wants a 5-pack of tickets, be the 9th caller. And no, just send me a message and let me know, and I will figure that out.
Nice. And where can people find you?
They'll know. Ben Sears photo on Instagram may be the easiest way.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. And failing that, just message me and I will be the go-between.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. Nice. I don't have any passes to give, but I do very strongly recommend that if you are in the area or if you are able to get virtual tickets, because I don't know if it's region locked or anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
But check it out because Heartland's amazing.
Yeah,
and,
there's some really great stuff.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I think we are ready to go into our first review of the evening. Ben, are you ready to go into our review of Cry Macho?
I'm ready.
All right.
I was going to do a Clint Eastwood impression, but I chickened out.
Well, it's the thought that counts. All right. So our first review tonight is going to be for the Clint Eastwood directed, starring, and I don't think he wrote. He didn't write it.
He did not.
But he produced it and everything, I think. But anyway, Cry Macho, the new Clint Eastwood film. Of course, we're going to do a non-spoiler and spoiler review. So I will put a clip from the trailer when we go into spoilers. If you want to jump over that, check the show notes for timestamps and everything. So, and it's also worth mentioning that Cry Macho is currently playing in theaters and is available on HBO Max until October 10th, I believe. So if you want to see the movie, check it out there, or, in several months, it'll probably be available on HBO Max again. So, it's based on a book, apparently. Okay. Anyway, so the plot summary, courtesy of IMDb, is a one-time rodeo star and washed-up horse breeder takes a job to bring a man's young son home and away from his alcoholic mom. On their journey, the horseman finds redemption through teaching the boy what it means to be a good man. Cry Macho stars Clint Eastwood as Mike Milo, Dwight Yoakam as Howard Polk, and I'm trying to get to the kid. Oh, good. Okay. Eduardo Minette as Raffo. Again, this was directed by Clint Eastwood and written by Nick Schenk and N. Richard Nash. N. Richard Nash also wrote the novel that it's based on. So, Ben, Cry Macho, I feel like this has not come up in our conversations on or off mic at all. And to be honest, I threw this suggestion out because I saw that it was available on HBO Max, and I was like, I didn't realize it was on HBO Max, so maybe we can review it. So having said that, what were your I don't know, your interest level? What was your interest level in this movie before I threw you into the deep end with it?
Absolute zero.
Nice.
I had no plans to watch it. I had not watched the trailer. I'm sure like you, but mixed on Clint Eastwood as a director.
I was going to ask, yeah.
Especially lately. I never watched The Mule, and from everything I've heard that's a good thing. Yeah, I don't know. Clint Eastwood is an interesting director, and I think this one it has its moments, certainly, but I don't know if he is the right director for this. Maybe a different director could have done something better with the material.
Okay.
I don't know.
Interesting. So as far as Clint Eastwood as a director is concerned, I mean, the thing that everyone is talking about, obviously, is the man is 91 years old.
Yes.
And he is still directing. He's still starring and producing in films and everything. And so, like, I'll kind of just run down some of the recent stuff that he's done. Richard Jewell in 2019, which I enjoyed well enough. I thought it was fine. I really, really like... Paul Walter Hauser. Mm-hmm. I think he's an incredible actor, so it was really cool to see a vehicle for him.
Still haven't gotten around to seeing that one yet.
It's solid. It's very solid. And then The Mule I saw, honestly, I don't really remember anything about it. I did not see the 1517 to Paris.
Me neither.
I saw trailers for it, and like and this might be a little bit of a tangent, but it will feed into our review, I think. His directing style, it is known that he if he's not like a one-take director, he is a director who shoots as few takes as possible.
Right.
And from what I've heard, he's like a 9-to-5 director. Uh-huh. And that, on one hand, I can understand how he's of such an advanced age and able to do that. Like, if it works for him, that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, man, it shows in his movies. Like, him not get, like, it's to me, as someone who has never directed anything in my life, I feel like that method is like, it's lazy. I think that there's a justification that either he said or people have said in defense of it, that, oh, it's so that he can get the most raw performance and everything. It's like, okay, well, sure, but also your job as director is to get performances out of their
the best
performers.
Performance.
Yes, like it's so weird. Also, to our Patreon question, if we could program like a double feature at a film festival, it would be interesting to do a double feature of a Clint Eastwood movie and a David Fincher movie.
Yes. I was just about to say he's like the anti-David Fincher.
Yes. Oh yeah. Still haven't seen Mank. But yeah, so in the thing with the 1517 to Paris is that from what I understand, it is a true story. And he had the actual people perform them as themselves.
Yes.
And like, I can't imagine how, like, even in the trailer, it just looked god awful because you have a director who does not pull performances from his actors, directing a movie with people who are not actors.
Yeah.
I can't imagine just the shit show of that.
It's almost like a kind of meta statement of these people almost having to relive their trauma.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a psycho performative kind of thing. I don't know. But yes, that directorial style for the most part did not work in Cry Macho.
100% agree. Even and I hate to I'm gonna kind of dance around this a little bit because I don't want it to seem like it's ageist or anything, but I feel like it, especially in those early scenes. I don't know when they were shot in terms of the production order or anything, but early on, it just felt so disconnected. Like his performance and the performance of others in scenes with him just felt so just like that scene that plays really well in the trailer where he tells Dwight Yoakam, like, I've always thought that you were a slimy, piece of shit or whatever, but there's no reason to be rude or something. Like, that's a great line, but he delivers it so flatly, and it just feels like it's, I don't know. And then there were scenes where it was clear, like they were not doing, they were not choreographing movement that well, so they had to kind of really cut around it. And that was jarring. And
I'm sure it was partially because he's a 90-ish-year-old guy, and he very clearly, even with the creative blocking and staging, very clearly cannot move very easily. Yeah. Which I don't fault him for that. In contrast to that, there is a scene where
obviously clearly has to be a double where he's riding a horse. And like it's like he's I think he's like breaking a horse and he's like riding the horse in the little fenced in area. And like, I've got to say, as much as I didn't really care for this movie, spoiler alert, I did not like this movie that much. And I don't even really have that strong a connection with Clint Eastwood as this Western star. But seeing him, or, a body double of him riding the horse, and then the scene where he is like actually he himself is on the horse and it's kind of stationary, seeing that, and with the cowboy hat and everything, I was like, I just want to disappear in all of his Westerns. I want to watch all of it, because it's
right.
There's something just so significant about that imagery in this movie. So that really stood out to me. But honestly, I don't really know if much else did.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the movie overall, and his performance in relation to the kid, and the kid's performance in relation to him?
Well, to go back, that scene, I think it's like the first scene with him and Dwight Yoakam, is just bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's just all exposition, and it's delivered so badly. And then there's this awkward CGI moment where it zooms in on a newspaper clipping.
Yeah.
It was so dumb and bad. And
I was initially kind of into that.
Oh.
But I was into that when it happened, and then when it stopped, and that's the only instance of anything like that in the entire movie.
Yes.
I was just like, okay, that's weird to me. Like, it was interesting. I thought it was going to go into like a full-fledged flashback.
Yes.
But it doesn't. It just shows it, and then, and then it goes away. But to
answer your question, I think this is a movie of two halves that are distinctly different from each other. The first half is boring and slow as shit.
Yes.
And the second half,
meandering.
The second half, I think, actually has something interesting to say.
Okay.
And it's all about like this guy who finds purpose with something he, I guess, didn't know that he had. And it's not, I feel like most movies would see him like finding as commonality with him and this kid, and it doesn't really play out like that, I don't think. Like, tell me if I'm wrong or not, but it doesn't totally play out like that. Like he finds people and things that can interest him that he didn't know he could do. That's almost a complete 180 from what he's known for almost all of his life.
Yeah, it's something that, one of the big things that I honestly really, really wish there was more of, and it goes back to this kind of almost meta aspect of the movie, in that it's Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood has such a storied career and a storied history, and like his heyday, he became a massive star doing spaghetti westerns and doing these tough guy roles and everything, and these very stoic Western archetypes. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, just throwing it out there, guys, but my favorite, like one of my favorite pieces of art, probably my favorite, is the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, and the gunslinger in that series is modeled after Clint Eastwood. And yeah, but anyway, so he has this level of this reputation of his career, this storied career, and the movie has several scenes, although not enough scenes, of him talking to the kid. And the kid is this 13-year-old boy who is kind of mixed up with the wrong crowd, I guess, or he has had a troubled upbringing.
Yeah.
And he's he's on a path that will lead to just him being like a criminal and just a wayward teen. And he has this whole spiel about how the kid is very focused on like the kind of classic masculine kind of idea, this toxic masculinity that you have to be macho and tough. And there are scenes where Clint Eastwood's character tells him like that doesn't make you tough. Like being macho doesn't make you tough. That's not what makes you a good person. And I like, if the movie had concentrated on that as the central theme and focused on that throughout the entire movie, I think this could have been just much, much better for me.
Yes.
Especially with it coming from Clint Eastwood, who, like I said, has this pedigree, has this career and everything. Like that would have been just really, really fascinating on a just kind of analytical level. But we don't get enough of that.
Right.
Like that's in contention with his backstory, which the one like good scene of the movie is him talking on the pew in the little church thing. Where he, and again, just the imagery of it's freaking amazing. Him with the cowboy hat tipped down as he's about to go to sleep, and he's telling the story of his friendship or relationship with Rafo's father, Rafo or Rafi, I don't know, the kid's father, and like that's amazing. And I'm just like, why can't we have that performance throughout the whole movie and the subtext and theme of, you know, toxic masculinity and growing up be the central theme, and we don't need all the excess stuff. So I don't know.
I was thinking about that too. Like, would this movie be any better with a different actor in it? Like someone who was 15 or 20 years younger who could do the physicality or maybe act a little bit better. But then at the same time, it doesn't have, without Clint Eastwood, it doesn't have, like you said, the preconceived notions that we have for Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. So, it doesn't have that background, that strength behind it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, like I said, if that was the focus of the movie, I would forgive it. Like the very kind of touchy and jagged kind of, I don't want to call them set pieces because they're not action set pieces or anything like that, but like the physicality being cut around and everything, I would be more forgiving to that if the central theme of the movie and the ideas that are presented in those few scant scenes were the focal point. But unfortunately it's not. And like you said, I mean, I was bored through a lot of this movie.
Yeah. I think once it gets to, I forget when exactly this is, but once they get to the town where they spend the second half or whatever in, once they get there, it picks up. But everything before that is just rough.
It really is. And again, like you said, it's not only that first scene with Dwight Yoakam, but in like a lot of that early portion, it's a ton of exposition.
Yes.
It is so much exposition, and it's just, it's grueling to get through because it's not like on one hand, like the times where the dialogue is actually decent, which is kind of few and far between, it's delivered in such a just lifeless kind of way. Like there's not much emoting.
Yeah. I forget the name of the kid, but he didn't do so great in my book either.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is, he kind of tends to pick like unknown actors for some of the smaller roles, but I don't know if this was like his first role or one of his first roles, or I don't remember seeing him anywhere before. Yeah,
this is his fifth acting credit. It looks like he was in one short film. Let's see, from Mexico, obviously. And he was in a couple of like 6 episodes in one show, 7 episodes in another show, and 1 episode in another.
Okay.
Which, and like I said, I think that is setting the film up for failure.
Yeah.
Because he could be a talented actor. He could be a strong actor, but unless he is like a genius level, like acting savant, Clint Eastwood is not interested in getting that out of him. Like,
Right. Yeah.
It's just, it is so bewildering to me. Like, and I say that like just from the knowledge that I have of him doing as few takes as possible as one take. I don't know what his rehearsal plan is like. He could hash all of that out and like rehearsing and everything, but I mean, come on, in the moment you have to at least direct. That's the gig.
Yeah.
That's what you do. It's a directing. Oh yeah. It was really frustrating.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the rooster acting?
Oh, look tasty.
Yes. The and even that, like the couple of times where Clint Eastwood's character makes like these little remarks about wanting to eat him and everything, I'm just like, it's just like he's not like there's not. It's not like this kind of winky, kind of funny thing. It's I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess this was my first thought. Like I said, I didn't know what this movie was going into it, so I didn't know that it was mostly going to be set in Mexico.
Yeah,
and based on Clint Eastwood's prior movies, especially like Gran Torino, I was set up to be worried about their portrayals of Mexicans.
Sure.
And Clint Eastwood's interactions with them. So I will say I don't know if this is just how low the bar has gotten with him, but
right.
I was surprised and glad there weren't a whole ton of Mexican stereotypes or
I agree.
asides.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
kudos for not being overtly racist.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah. Do you want to go into spoilers for Cry Macho, or is there anything that we can discuss in non-spoilers?
Is there anything to spoil with this?
Not really, but I have the trailer queued up.
Okay.
So,
all right. There is one scene at the end that I think I could talk about.
Okay.
But yeah,
me too. There are a couple of things I kind of want to touch on in spoilers.
Okay.
So we're going to go into spoilers for Cry Macho. If you want to skip those, check the show notes for timestamps, or if you don't really care, like we said, there's not really much to spoil in this movie. It is kind of a drag. It's kind of a boring movie. Go ahead and just keep listening. But here's a clip from the trailer to give you time to jump around on the timeline.
Back when we had winners, I was afraid to lose you to the competition. 5 times you won the All-American. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? That was before the accident. Before the booze. You know how many people told me to just cut you loose? You gonna say anything?
Howard, I've always thought of you as a small, weak, and gutless man. But you know, there's no reason to be rude.
You owe me, Mike. You gave me your word. And that used to mean something. My son, Rafael, he's in trouble. I want to get him out of Mexico.
You want me to go down there and kidnap him?
Please, just get him back up here. Just you?
Just me.
So spoilers on for Cry Macho. Ben, we just heard about 90% of Dwight Yoakam's lines in the movie. We didn't really touch on that. How did you feel about his performance?
Oh boy. Next time I come over here, I'm going to print out a transcript of that scene, and we are going to reenact it and see if we can do better.
Oh, there's no reason to be rude. But yeah, like, and we were laughing. I don't know if I'll keep that in the recording, but like, it is like, even in the marketing, it's just like they picked the most exposition heavy thing. That's really frustrating. But so your comments or your position on this movie about it being like kind of two halves of or halves of two movies and everything, really, like that's spot on. Because like when they get to the town, it's like it's almost like the movie resets and is a completely different movie,
right?
And like we spend so much time setting up this whole dynamic with the kid and with his mother,
right?
Which like the only purpose that those scenes with her served, I feel, was to manufacture this weird possessive kind of angle with the kid, to give them some kind of manufactured drama of them being on the lam of sorts.
Right.
And also to set up that interaction at the end, which was just kind of lifeless and dull.
Is she a member of like a cartel or a drug kingpin or something? Or is she just... I guess she has to be because she's in that big fancy house.
Yeah, I think that's the implication, but they really don't. They don't explore that at all.
Yeah.
I did make a joke in my head that I haven't said or anything. It's not offensive, but so The Mule is a movie about Clint Eastwood's character smuggling drugs out of Mexico into the U.S. For a cartel or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Cry Macho is about him going into Mexico to retrieve a person and bring them across the border. So I like, if he named the first movie The Mule, I don't know why he didn't name this one Coyote, or The Coyote. But yeah, I don't know.
Or
I thought
at
that
least the chicken.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a drag. This movie was such a narrative mess for me. I think that's what I was getting at, because like I said in non-spoilers, if they had excised the whole cartel mother thing and focused on, you know, the bond between the kid and Clint Eastwood like trying to impart in him the knowledge that he himself, you know, has learned through his life to steer him away from that. I mean, that would be pretty archetypical. That would be kind of cliched, but it would at least be a cohesive thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. What do you want to bring up in spoilers?
Well, the only thing that I was really thinking of is the scene near the end, almost at the end, where the police are tailing them and they have to pull over to the side of the road, and then the police like start searching their car for drugs, which they don't have.
Right.
And then they leave.
Yes.
When they don't find any drugs.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what the point of that freaking scene was.
I don't either.
Yeah.
They were tailing them, but I don't know why they were tailing them.
I think it's the police the whole time are kind of after them because I guess the implication is that the mom is connected and told the police to find him and kill him.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. That was just
because I guess it's supposed to have tension because you think that they are going to take him in, but it just, I guess just the way that it's filmed just doesn't have any of that. Yeah.
And I feel like the tension, like it is partially due to honestly just poor directing from Eastwood. Like, blanket statement, it's not a well-directed movie. It does not have a strong narrative flow. It's not compelling or interesting in that respect. But also the screenplay, the dialogue is atrocious. Like, it is, I think in that scene, or it might be in another scene, I think they're like, all right, well, we're going to find drugs, and when we do, you're going to spend the rest of your life in a Mexican prison.
Right.
Or I think the mother says that earlier. I don't know, but I'm just like, okay, just plainly state the stakes and have freaking one take of this actor delivering that line, so it's the most flat and lifeless line.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was aggravating to me. It was really aggravating to me.
This is even more inconsequential, but I noticed this in the moment when he is going to Mexico. There's a bit where there's a car full of sexy ladies about to cross the border, and the border agent is kind of like checking him out, flirting or whatever. And then they just drive off, and then he's just all business with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And you never see any of them again.
That's the frustrating part. Like that does not come in, that does not bear any.
Maybe it was just supposed to be a comedic bit, but it wasn't funny.
Yeah. I think so too. My rationalization of that is that it was intended as a comedic bit, which honestly, in contrast or in comparison with the rest of the movie, it maybe got a soft exhale from my nostrils from that, which in comparison with the rest of the movie is like me gasping for air, laughing my ass off. But I also think that it might have some kind of subtext to it where, and it's another failure of the movie that if this is the intention, it should have been represented throughout the entire movie. But I feel like the border agent's complete change in behavior to talking to Clint Eastwood, where he's just very business and very kind of not noticing him or not really paying close attention to him. I feel like maybe there's some kind of commentary about aging there, because there's of such drastic contrasting of age, like the young girls and then now him. But I don't know what point they're making. Like
that feels like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, especially because, like I said, it's not present really in the movie.
Yeah,
at all in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I could be just doing a lot of heavy lifting for it. How'd you feel about Marta and like all of that kind of that connection, which I feel like is probably the strongest like character connection.
Yeah.
But how'd you feel about all that?
Yeah, same here. I liked her scenes with Clint Eastwood. I like the prospect of seeing more of them together, because that's kind of where the movie ends. So
Cry Macho 2. There, let there be, I don't know,
chicken.
Yeah, yeah. Let there be roosters.
The other thing that kind of, I don't know if it bothered me, but it was just kind of a weird choice how she doesn't speak English. I don't know. I guess it feels authentic, but still.
I liked that. I didn't dislike that.
Okay.
What I think I liked more, or I think that that is paid off pretty well with the reveal that one of the girls is deaf and he can sign. So like I just felt like that was a very tender moment in that he has this language barrier, and then he suddenly like, oh, he can actually communicate with at least one person there. So yeah, I don't know.
I just got the idea of a crossover.
Oh
with
God,
Clint Eastwood in this movie, and then moving to Coda. Yeah. The immediate thing I went to is Clint Eastwood driving in a car with the father from Coda, talking about or telling him how to handle his jock itch. I was thinking he could replace the choir teacher, and then we could hear more of Clint Eastwood singing.
Right. Yes. Oh, I love it. Yeah, and really the only other thing I have to say on spoilers for Cry Macho is that weird like scene where they where the kind of henchman runs them off the road, and they have that whole thing. That, I mean, talk about a scene that feels like a note or something, or like a reshoot or something that's like, oh, hey, nothing is happening in this movie. Let's have this.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
That feels accurate, because don't go into this expecting an action movie.
Right.
And, there's something to be said about that. Like, you don't need it to be an action movie,
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. I forget even at what point that came along.
That came along near the end, like very near the end. And then, it's like before they get to the border, but it's like the last like big moment in the movie. But even before that, when like, I don't understand why this other scene exists, but like they, their car gets stolen and they steal a car, and then they drive past police that are towing out their car that was stolen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so like, what's the point of that? Like, why? Sure. Okay. I don't understand what you're trying to say with this. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like a very listless and directionless movie. Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts for Cry Macho?
No. I don't expect to ever think about this movie again or ever rewatch it again.
Honestly, same with me. Same. It's like The Mule all over again. Like I saw The Mule. I don't remember much about it. Yeah. I'm actually surprised that when I was looking at his directing credits, I'm surprised that Richard Jewell came out after The Mule. Like, I mean, obviously it makes sense. Like, given it and everything, but this feels as dull as The Mule was to me. So yeah, it's one of those movies that down the road I'll be like, oh yeah, we reviewed that. Okay, sure. Yeah. So all right.
I'll always treasure this memory.
Yes. Same here. Okay, so that's our review of Cry Macho. Next up, we're going to be talking about Dear Evan Hansen. Okay, so Dear Evan Hansen is in theaters now, and September 24th it was released in theaters. I believe it's only in theaters, right?
Right, and it premiered at the Toronto Film Festival.
That's right, okay.
Opened the festival.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It is directed by Steven Chbosky. I never know how to pronounce his name.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Written screenplay by Stephen Levinson based on the musical stage play with book by him. And the plot summary. Oh, by the way, it stars, I'll save that for after the summary. Courtesy of IMDb, the plot summary for Dear Evan Hansen is film adaptation of the Tony and Grammy Award-winning musical about Evan Hansen, a high school senior with social anxiety disorder, and his journey of self-discovery and acceptance following the suicide of a fellow classmate. Dear Evan Hansen stars Ben Platt as Evan Hansen, Julianne Moore as Heidi Hansen, Caitlin Dever as Zoe Murphy, Amy Adams as Cynthia Murphy, and a slew of other supporting actors in the film. So Ben, what were your thoughts going into Dear Evan Hansen? Did you have any prior experience with, I'm assuming you had no experience with the musical, but did you have any prior experience with like the songs or anything?
Nope.
Okay. And so what was your interest level with going into this movie?
Mostly none. Just only as a kind of a sideshow curiosity piece, I guess. Because I remember hearing the backlash when it was first announced that Ben Platt would be doing this, and still not being totally interested, but just knowing that.
Yeah.
So I don't even think I knew what the story was when I first heard the announcement. So
yeah, I didn't know what the story was until the trailer.
Yeah.
And then like you said, there was a lot of I guess backlash, but also like just internet dunking on Ben Platt for playing the role, which so I don't subscribe to that as really worthwhile discussion in terms of criticism. We'll talk about it, obviously, but I don't think it ultimately has any real bearing on the movie itself. but it is pretty apparent. Like it is distracting from the outset.
Yeah.
Because he is, I think, like 27 or 28.
27, I think.
Okay. But also it's not, first of all, it's not like movies and TV shows haven't cast the severely elderly as teenagers. But also this is a role that he has performed and like throughout like its run on Broadway, I believe. He won a Tony for it, I think.
Probably.
Yeah, at like a young age and everything. So if they were going to cast anyone, like if they were going to cast an older person to play Evan Hansen, like obviously I think it's worth casting the person who is known for playing Evan Hansen.
Sure.
But yeah, so we will talk about the distracting thing and some of the stupid jokes that I made to myself. But my interest level in it was I'd heard kind of whispers about the musical, and like I knew that it was like a pop culture kind of maybe not. It's not like a Hamilton grade phenomenon, I think, and I don't really know much about the theater world or anything, but it is something that has been kind of that I've crossed paths with in terms of pop culture references. And I didn't know what the plot was until I saw that first trailer. And I was honestly intrigued. Like it's an interesting, in theory, it was an interesting hook for the movie to kind of reel me in just a little bit out of curiosity, because it's to go further than the IMDb description. It's about a kid who is given an assignment from his therapist to write a letter to himself that's an affirming positivity thing. And so he types it out. Dear Evan Hansen, writes it all out. Sincerely me. And then he it is taken by this troubled classmate, this troubled youth, who ends up killing himself, and the family believes that the letter was something that their dead son had written to Evan Hansen, and it creates this very gross, morally bankrupt level of just deception and manipulation and selfishness that I don't feel like the movie recovers from in a meaningful way.
Nope.
So, yeah. So, it's something. So, we'll talk non-spoilers and we'll do a spoiler section and everything. But, Ben, in overall terms, broad terms, how did you feel about Dear Evan Hansen? And you have to recite it in iambic pentameter, and I will lay down a beat for you.
I'm going to start out by talking and then slowly start to sing.
Nice.
And then I'll go back to talking for a minute. Yeah. And then I'll sing.
While crying. Make sure you cry. I probably should have asked you, like, what's your position on musicals anyway?
I like them for the most part.
Yeah.
We briefly talked about In the Heights earlier this year.
Yes.
Really liked that one.
Yeah. I might have only thrown that up on Patreon for the $10 level.
Well, then
Incentive.
People need to get on there so they can hear it.
Yes. It's a parking lot special.
But yeah, I like them for the most part. It's not my like number one genre, but I'm excited for West Side Story this year. I still haven't seen Annette, but I am excited for that one as well. Tick, Tick, Boom is coming out this year.
Oh, yeah.
As well. And so I know nothing about that one, but I'm curious as well.
How did you feel about La La Land? Because if I remember correctly, I think the writer of the music for this, or songwriters wrote the music for La La Land.
Yes. And it's kind of funny. That's like, they say like from the director of blank, from the producer of blank. It's from the songwriter of La La Land, and I think Greatest Showman.
Oh yeah.
So that's all they have to bank on this. But
well, yeah, and that's funny, and I get that, but also I do think that La La Land was a big hit, and I've heard great things about The Greatest Showman. So I understand the marketing of that.
Yeah.
That honestly, to be honest, caught my eye a little bit and made me a little more interested in it. Yeah.
To answer your question, I love La La Land.
Nice.
I know that it's popular to dunk on it, but
Right.
I love it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And overall, there was a brief couple moments when I thought that this was the worst movie of the year that I've seen.
Oh,
but
interesting.
then I remembered that the Space Jam sequel came out. So, and
Nice.
I don't think anything's going to top that. So,
Yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't say that this is in league with the worst I've seen of this year. I have seen 36 2021 releases, and my lowest rated one is on Letterboxd. Oh yeah, oh god. Is Infinite.
okay.
Yeah, on Paramount Plus. Infinite and Voyagers, and Dear Evan Hansen, and Jungle Cruise.
Oh
And
boy.
Settlers, but I feel kind of, I don't know, that has a little bit more merit, I guess. But yeah, it's
not great.
No, it's really not.
To get back to when you had said that the plot when they discover the letter and they think that he was best friends with him. This is a movie that should last 15 minutes.
Oh yeah. And I'm going to sound super condescending, but Amy Adams, bless her heart.
Oh boy.
She is saddled with some of the worst dialogue I've seen this side of Cry Macho.
Yes.
Which was 24 hours after before watching Dear Evan Hansen. Like that scene where they are talking to him in the principal's office.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, minor nitpick, but what educator, what administrative official for a school just leads this kid into this just complete like A-bomb of a bombshell.
Yes.
Like, oh, hey, this kid's parents are here to see you. Oh, okay. That's weird.
Doesn't say why.
Okay. Yeah. And then
doesn't stay in the room with them.
yeah. And then it's just these parents are just like, oh, hey, our son killed himself. So
there are so many just leaps in logic here that destroy the movie.
Yeah. And
totally.
I for one, I'm going to rant about the stuff with him and Zoe, but we'll get to that. But like in terms of like Amy Adams, like it is so weird. It's so strange because she has like this weird leap in dialogue where it's like in that scene, it like this made me cringe and laugh to myself. But when he's like, no, he didn't write this letter and everything. And then she lifts up his sleeve and says, oh, he signed your cast. And then she's like, you were a special friend. You were the best friend he had. And I'm just like, what? Like, okay. And like the movie presents it. And then later when they have him over for dinner, she's like, oh, you must have good stories and about him and everything about what a good person he is. It's like, yes, I understand. She is a grieving mother who there is a well of like grief in that character that could have been mined for that performance and everything. But with it not having that level of dramatic flair in the performance or that level of subtext, which I take that, which when I say that, I mean any level of subtext in the dialogue, it just does not work. It just comes across as so hokey. Ugh.
There, right after that scene, I think Ben Platt is talking with his friend,
his family friend.
Yeah. And I made sure to write this down because I thought it was just hilarious. He says, I've never seen anyone so sad before. And he's talking about that meeting.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
In the principal's office. And it's like, really? Like, just it wasn't really that sad of a scene.
Well, also,
no one was crying.
Also, the fact that he's talking about a woman who just lost her son to suicide.
And also, like, this is a theme later on about how his mom and dad divorced when he was younger.
Yeah.
And he's very cognizant of that and those moments.
Yep.
Like, you've never seen your mom that sad before?
Right.
You're
Yeah.
It's so it
Oh
it
my
was just
God.
dumb. And yes, it
Yeah.
was a tossed off line, but
Yeah.
it was just dumb to me.
It's like the movie is saying, well, we didn't really capture the sadness and grief here, so let's just to be safe, let's have him say that they were sad.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
like,
that'll
what?
work.
Yeah, and I have to wonder. So the person who wrote the musical wrote the screenplay.
Yes.
I haven't
And-
looked to see his.
And I think he wrote the book that the musical was based on as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that there was a.
I don't know if it was a book or a short
Okay.
story or.
Yeah, because in the credits when I read it, I thought that it just meant like the musical stage play with book by,
Mhm.
and I took that to mean, like the book of the musical. Like musicals have
Sure.
like the book, stage directions and stuff, and then music. So like, I forgot to mention that Justin Paul and Benj Pasek are the people who wrote the music and lyrics.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wonder if Stephen Levinson is the writer of the screenplay and book. So I'm looking at his credits. I mean, he has writing credits for Masters of Sex, Fosse Verdon. Oh, he developed Fosse Verdon. He doesn't have a writing credit there. And that show Vegas, and the Playboy Club. So what I'm getting at is that he has some screenwriting experience, but I have to wonder if the just really, really ham-fisted dialogue and incredibly just like out of sync writing for this movie, I wonder if that is a situation where in adapting it from a stage production to a filmed production, there was something lost there or something that he carried over from there to make it more on the surface.
See, and I've been reading some reviews that wonder about that as well. Like,
Okay.
how did this go from a Tony win? Like, it was
Yeah.
huge.
Oh,
it
yeah.
won several Tonys. And it was, it had several revivals or, I don't know, whatever
tours,
it's called.
I guess, yeah.
Tours. Like it's lasted a while and people loved it. So how did it go from that to this?
Right.
Like, is it just something that played better on stage where things are a little more heightened, or?
I've got to assume that that's the case. Because I mean, to play devil's advocate, if some of those scenes, if I were in the audience of a stage, of a musical, I would be more forgiving because there is a certain level of directness that is kind of bred into the theater. And I think it's not, I mean, it's a different medium. It's a different medium for performance art.
Yeah.
And I think that the lack, like not making an effort to do really any subtext or anything, for the film is really, really frustrating.
It makes me morbidly curious to see the stage play, to
Me
see
too.
the differences.
Yeah.
Not only like I don't know what the story differences would be, but like the songs, I don't know.
Yeah. And then what I'm really interested in is here in a few years, if they do that, then that will get, like, if they put it on like Disney Plus, that will beat like Bo Burnham's like even more inside special for an Emmy.
Yep.
But yeah, I did see an article. I didn't read it or anything. I kind of skimmed it a little bit, but I did see that there were some big differences in the at least in the narrative between the musical and the movie. So I think from what I skimmed, both mothers, Evan Hansen's mother and Connor's mother, they have bigger arcs in the musical.
Okay.
Which, yeah, that's something. I do have to, okay, let's comment just really quickly about the age thing. At the start, it was distracting for me.
Yeah.
Because it looks like he has like very caked on makeup or I don't know what the intricacies of that, but it looked like they tried to make him look young and it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And like the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, well, Caitlin Dever, she's got to be like 18 or something.
Right.
So that's weird. And I looked it up. She's like 25, 26. She's only a couple years younger than him. And like, I think the problem with that is that she has much more of a youthful look than he does. So there's that disconnect. But also, I mean, about halfway through the movie, it didn't register with me anymore. Like, it's just, I acclimated myself to his look and everything. Like, well, sure. Yeah.
It also, like, he's very, like, hunched over throughout most of it. And he has this weird, I don't even know what to call that haircut. But it almost, like, draws attention to how much it doesn't fit him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I did make a couple of jokes that I wasn't going to say on the podcast, but...
My joke was that Scorsese should have directed this and used the Irishman de-aging technology.
Yep.
And then it would be 5-star, masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. So yeah, a couple of dumb jokes that I made, I'll just say. The shot that's all over the marketing with him in the car with his mom driving him to school, with his head kind of up against the window of the car.
Okay.
Like the asshole kind of joke that I made was, I imagined him saying, "I know you're driving me to school, Mom, but I'm really stressed out about my stock portfolio and my 401k." And then there's a scene, and this is so dumb, and I'm sorry, but there's a scene later where he is running. It's like a dramatic moment. He's running across town to someone's house, and when that someone opens the door, they're talking and everything. But what I imagined was that when the door opens, he would be kind of doubled over, panting and groaning, and saying, "Hey, sorry, I just need a second. It's been a while since I did cardio and it rained this afternoon, so my hip is acting up." So those are just cruel, stupid jokes that I made. But honestly, at the end of the day, like I said, I got acclimated to the look. It didn't bother me. It didn't distract me halfway through.
It's easy to get acclimated because this is a 2 hour and 15 freaking minute movie.
Yes.
Good Lord.
That was... And
I know, like, part of that is the songs.
Right. But still, it's way too long. It just is. Yeah. And that's another reason why it was distracting for that first half or whatever in comparison to Caitlin Dever or any of the other actors, because he's the star of the movie. Like, there are so many, like, he's in every scene or just about every scene. So the focus is on him most of all. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else we can say in non-spoilers. Cause I want to touch on the Zoe thing. Cause that's overall. Oh, my thought that I was, having with his look and appearance and everything is that ultimately it doesn't factor into the plot of the movie. It's not anything that has a bearing on the actual story elements or the filmmaking or anything. It's at best a distraction that I got acclimated to halfway through.
Yeah, and I don't think another actor could have made this movie better. Yeah. It has so many... It's broken from the get-go.
Absolutely. And that's the big thing with me, is that it creates in Evan Hansen this character that is presented to us as this socially awkward, social anxiety-ridden kid who has just severe social anxiety. And the movie presents us to this character and puts him through, or makes him go through, like almost almost to the point, and in a couple cases, I would say probably to the point of irredeemable qualities and irredeemable actions that like it was at a certain point, I was like, I mean, I was thinking like the only way that this movie can improve or this movie can turn a corner for me is if his inevitable downfall in the plot or when everything kind of comes crashing down around him is if that is a more severe House of Cards falling than the movie is going to have. Because it's, you know, I know what the demographic is. I know what type of movie this is. But like the only way that it could turn a corner and make me more interested is if this was a like a villain story.
Right.
Like it's just because it's so there's so many instances where it's just it's really, really morally bankrupt for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things that I think are slightly more positive, I guess.
Okay.
I will say I liked, I think it, well, this isn't the case with all of them, but I especially liked the song, and I can't remember what it's called, but the song that where Evan and his friend are writing the fake emails.
Oh yeah.
I liked that. I liked the way that it was edited together.
Me too.
I liked how it played out. I don't know how that would have played on stage.
I was wondering that too, and about a couple other things. Like I was very curious how it was depicted on stage, because to the movie's credit, like as much of a fault and downgrade of quality in terms of screenwriting and dialogue and everything, in terms of creating a film aspect of it, like doing things that I can't imagine were able to be performed on stage.
Yes.
Like the way that they do that is pretty effective. Like it is interesting to see that they showed that they were aware that they were in a different medium. So I did appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think as unmemorable as most of the songs are, I think they're fine.
Yeah.
You know?
I enjoyed the songs in the moment.
They're not in the heights.
Right.
But,
or La La Land for that matter.
Right.
There's no City of Stars or anything.
Yes. The other thing that I'll say, and I think that the movie could have improved if it had focused on this, but I liked the scene with Evan and what was the other student's name? The girl, the student body president.
Yeah, Alana.
I know the actress's name is Amandla something.
Right. Yeah, Elena Beck.
Okay. So I like the scene with him and her as they're kind of like walking along together and talking about their mental illnesses, I guess. And the things that they struggle with.
Yeah. Talking shop about medicine. Yeah.
Yes.
Which I like that too. As someone who was on Team Zoloft, go Evan Hansen. I did appreciate that. Although, on the other hand, there were moments where I felt like it was implied slightly in some cases that I feel like there was the implication in some aspects that the reason why he was doing these things, like lying and deceiving this grieving family, was if not, it was indirectly because he was medicated or something. Like, I feel like and this could just be me finding something that's not there. So feel free to rake me over the coals with that. But I feel like there was at least like one or two, maybe just one scene with him and Julianne Moore where he kind of uses the fact that he's on medicine as an excuse or a reasoning behind his actions, I guess. I don't know.
I think I remember that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it could have been better if it had focused more on like the way that they put on these acts of acting like they're okay.
Yeah.
because, I don't know, because of being in high school or because of parents or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just focusing on their mental struggles.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's just that one scene.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that was something that I feel like should have been explored more.
Right.
Another thing, I'll hint at it, but we'll talk more extensively about it in spoilers. But I will say that there was a moment toward the end of the movie where the plot ramps up a little bit toward the end, and there are elements of the kind of the climax of the movie where I felt like it was a big improvement over the rest of the movie. Like I actually felt like, okay, this is actually not as bad as the last 2 hours. But I say that with a caveat because there are elements of the story at the ending that I feel like would have served. Like I don't think there is a reason for it to be revealed at the end and not the beginning of the movie to kind of guide the actions of the character. Okay. Which I'm talking in vague terms, but I'll talk about it in spoilers. But I just think that there is just a weird, this weird element to the ending that's like, we don't really get much about Evan Hansen except for, he has social anxiety and everything. And that's another thing that I feel like this movie that centers around what happens after a student kills himself really does a disservice to the student who killed himself.
Right.
And it's borderline offensive.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, this feels to me like an ode to like performative grieving, where immediately afterwards, well, even before he kills himself, he's this outcast and everyone makes fun of him. And then afterwards, everyone
decorating his
loves
locker.
Him. Yeah.
And that's what I thought like Alana was going to be. Like I thought that's where like that character was, like I thought that was the point of the character, but it's more sincere and it's more, I don't know, it evolves from that. But yeah, in terms of his actual, like the stuff we learn about Connor, the real stuff, not the stuff that Evan Hansen makes up to manipulate and deceive a grieving family. The real stuff, like the stuff we learn about him, like we don't need to know how he killed himself or anything, but the why of it or the what he went through before killing himself is so murky to me.
Right.
Like at one point it's pretty heavily like said directly that he had like behavioral problems. And we even see that in some of the scenes with like the one of the two scenes with Evan.
Right.
And then there's also the talk about him being kind of addicted to drugs and in and out of rehab and stuff. And it's like, at one hand, it's like, okay, they're kind of obviously, they're also kind of demonizing, mental health in that respect, but also they're ignoring it. And it's just really, really weird that we have a story that is hinging on the reaction of people to a person committing suicide. And we don't know much about that character, which maybe is the point, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else to say in non-spoilers?
Don't. I was talking with my sister about this, because I thought that she had gone to go and see it, but she had not.
Oh, okay.
She went to go and see the movie that is on Apple TV, Come From Away.
Oh, okay.
But she said that Dear Evan Hansen was like across the street at the time.
Oh.
So anyway, she asked me.
Wait, Come From Away, is that like a musical that was adapted into a movie?
It's I think it's like a Hamilton situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it'll win an Emmy in a couple of years.
Right. It'll be Bo Burnham. Because in my head, I'm freaking out like, that's what we should have done the double review of. But, oh well.
So she asked me, is this worse than Cats? And I had to think about it for a second.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm going to say yes.
Oh,
it's worse than Cats.
Wow.
Like,
You've seen Cats, right?
yes.
Okay.
Because for this reason, Dear Evan Hansen is like trying to do something profound and say something about mental health or being in high school or something. I don't know. It's something like that.
Manipulating a girl that you like in an effort to get her to like you. Yeah.
Right, which we can all relate to.
Right.
Whereas Cats is just a bunch of weird shit that was executed poorly.
Yeah.
Which even Cats the musical never really aspired to be much more than that. So,
Man.
and Cats had some fun songs at least.
Right. Yeah. Man, you know, when you put it like that, I mean, I honestly, I'm surprised that I'm saying this right now, but I might have to agree with you. Because Cats is top to bottom crazy.
Yes.
Weird. Even with us not even being able to see the butthole cut, that notwithstanding, it is an experience that at its central premise is ridiculous, crazy,
nonsensical,
weird, nonsensical stuff. And Dear Evan Hansen, like you said, you're right. It does try to do something profound, and I feel like almost every step of the way, it shits the bed entirely. And I think I think I'll have to agree with you because it is dealing with much more serious topics. I mean, I'm a cat person. I love cats through and through, but I will say that mental health is more important, by a smidge more important than
you're lucky she's asleep.
Our feline companions. Which, by the way, real quick, I saw a very funny comment on Reddit where someone said that someone said like, someone said something about a cat owner, and then someone corrected them and said dogs have owners, cats have staff. Which I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I agree. I think it's worse than Cats. Jeez. Wow. I'll never see either movie again. So.
Oh, man. We could do a double feature.
Oh, my God. That's what we would play at a film festival.
Another, 24 hours before the digital screener expires.
Right. Yes. Oh, God. Yeah. I feel like if I watched it again, pizza would claw my eyes out.
The last thing that I'll say, and I'll expand on this in spoilers, is that there are 0 human people in this movie.
Yeah.
Much like cats.
Right.
So
it's like a movie entirely of is it Brett Goldstein?
Yeah.
Just CGI characters.
So but yeah, it just goes like with what you were saying is just every turn it just shits the bed.
Yeah.
Because there are no human characters and they don't behave like humans.
No.
So
no.
I don't know. Let's go into spoilers.
Yeah, let's go into spoilers. So we're going to be spoiling Dear Evan Hansen. Like with Cry Macho, if you want to skip to if we do something afterwards, I don't know, we're running a little late, so we'll see. But yeah, just here's your warning. We're going to play a clip from the trailer. If you don't care about spoilers, just listen to this clip from the trailer. And then, so here's a clip from the trailer. When we come back, spoilers for Dear Evan Hansen.
Dear Evan Hansen, he wrote it to you.
His last words, Connor took his own life.
I'm sorry, Connor didn't write this.
No, please. It's this.
You will be found.
We didn't think Connor had any friends.
I mean, you really gonna tell these people that the only thing they have left of their son is a letter that you wrote to yourself?
So, you and Connor, tell us something, please.
Right. I started talking and
you couldn't stop.
They didn't want me to stop.
I'm putting together a memorial service. If you wanted to do something.
Connor showed me that I wasn't alone. Nobody is. So, let that lonely feeling wash away.
Okay, so spoilers on for Dear Evan Hansen. I do want to say just real quick that the scene where he is giving his speech that goes viral and everything, he's speaking, he knocks it over, but he's speaking into a Shure SM58 microphone, which I have several of for our mobile setup. It's an industry standard for that. Anyway, so spoilers on for Dear Evan Hansen. Ben, where to begin?
Oh boy.
Should we begin with Zoe? Because we didn't talk about her that much, and I'm ready to just go off the wall with this.
Well, then go off.
Okay. So
I will say I do think that Caitlin Dever was good.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I honestly think that she is one of the she's one of those actors that I am very eager to see a career like going forward.
Yes.
Like I think she's an incredible talent.
Mhm.
And I say that having not seen her limited series that I really need to see. God, what was that called?
I don't remember, but no, I haven't seen it either.
Okay. But so in this movie, she is the object of unrequited affection from Evan Hansen, who is crippled by social anxiety disorder to the point that he doesn't really speak to anyone. So he looks at her from afar. He has a crush on her, like, teenagers do.
Sure.
Or men in their near 30s. I'm sorry. I shouldn't make that joke, but as teenagers do. And so that's all well and good. That's fine. But the problem that I have is that and I mean, devil's advocate, the character is a teenager, so I guess it kind of makes a little bit of sense in that teen logic thing, but the fact that the movie takes Evan Hansen to a point where he, like, the most egregious, most, like, just off-putting moment in the entire movie for me was when he is with Zoe in her house, ready to eat the pie, not a euphemism, and she is talking about a moment in the letter in what is in their household regarded as the suicide note that is addressed to dear Evan Hansen, to Evan Hansen.
Right.
And she says, like, that line about Zoe not knowing me, like, what did he mean? He didn't know me or whatever. And then there's a whole song where Evan is singing to her, telling her all the things that he has noticed about her under the guise of her brother telling him about those things.
Right.
That just what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Like, that is so gross and just morally corrupt. It is manipulative. Yeah. It is so messed up. And like that, at that point, I was just like, oh my God, what even is this? And then it goes a step further with them actually starting to date and them having that song where they're talking about how, like, they want to be together and stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing, movie? Like, what is this? Like, and I mean, I think that one of the many problems I have with that is that this is a movie that is unabashedly geared toward, Gen Z.
Sure.
And it is something that has these profound messaging in it about, mental health and suicide prevention and being seen when you don't feel like you're seen and everything. But it's also like, oh, okay, this dude is just fucking, like, manipulating this girl into falling for him or having an emotional connection with him while she's grieving the death of her brother.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Just,
It takes a pretty big leap, and the movie does not earn this, to go from where they start out to where they end up when they're dating. Like, it's just almost out of the blue.
Yeah.
Where she, like, tells him that she likes him.
Right.
I don't know. Like, you kind of know that it's going to come one way or another, but the way that it takes to get there just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, absolutely.
And they don't put in the work to get there.
Yeah.
So,
and to your point, to like that, just non-human characters.
Yes.
Like, it is so weird. Oh,
can I talk a bit about? I guess I could have brought this up in non-spoilers, but the way that these songs play out just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay,
it's not really. Like, most of the songs are just Evan, right? And it's all very like grounded and real, except for that one that we talked about with him and Connor. So it's not clear, like most musicals, when they sing, it's almost like a dream kind of thing, or like they're singing internally. But here it's like he's singing, but it's not clear if they are hearing him sing just out of nowhere, or if he is singing himself and then simultaneously like speaking words. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Like, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, you're questioning whether like is the singing just like for us and
right.
like the actual like in real life.
For instance,
them talking
when he's on the stage with the famous microphone. When he's on the stage
SM58.
and he just spontaneously breaks out into song and that moment goes viral. Did he actually just spontaneously sing in front of a crowd of people he doesn't know and is afraid of?
No. In my kind of position, this goes kind of for all musicals, honestly. Like the way I think I may have heard them described this way, like the genre of musical, is that when characters break out into song in a musical, it is basically them. It is a representation of their emotional state,
right?
And that's what like the music part of the musical is. So, like obviously, I don't think he's singing to an audience or whatever. It's just the movie or the production, the stage production, whatever, is communicating to us the emotional core of the speech that he gives.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my kind of thing.
So he actually does give a speech and that's what goes viral?
Right. That's what I'm thinking, is that the actual thing that goes viral is actually a very, very heartfelt speech that he gives. But since it's a musical, to bring out that emotion, we do that in a musical. Even though he doesn't pick up the microphone stand and speak into the SM58, even though
lost opportunity.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
I don't know. It just the way that these musical numbers were staged just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And part of that could be because, like I said, they're all very self-contained. Like it's mostly either Evan or Caitlin Deaver or Julianne Moore at the end. There aren't like big choreographed musical moments.
There's not like a big there's like one song, I think it might just be called Requiem, or it might be like I'm Not Going to Have a Requiem or something.
Yeah.
That has like kind of a full cast kind of thing. But that's an outlier. You're right. There's not really much else.
Like I almost started wondering, like, would this movie have been any better if they had just taken the songs out entirely?
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, because I honestly I liked the music.
A
lot more than the movie. Yeah.
But would it have been more dramatically compelling if the music was taken out?
You might be onto something, but I think either way, it needed a better screenwriter.
It needed that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. But I think that the kind of blueprint of the story, the kind of overall story, is strong enough to sustain like a traditional narrative. Not to say that like being a musical is gimmicky or anything like that, but and like I said, kind of musicals have their own strengths of bringing out the emotion of the characters and everything. But I think that the story is interesting enough to sustain a traditional narrative with a better screenwriter.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of a better screenwriter, and this is the other giant leap in logic that just pissed me off at the end. So they do this fundraiser thing, and
yes. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
The big emotional twist near the end is when what's her name?
Alana.
Yes.
Yeah.
Puts this note on the internet.
Yep.
And then the public hates it.
Yeah.
Like, number one, it doesn't make sense for her character. Like, why is she... I guess it makes sense because she's trying to raise money.
Yeah.
But then the internet gets pissed off at her because this rich family is asking for money.
Right.
But this foundation had already been set up.
Yeah.
Like,
they already knew
weeks
that.
or months or whatever already.
Yeah.
And it's not like the family is asking for this money.
Right.
It's this foundation.
I think so. I hated that part of the movie.
Yes. Yeah.
But I will play devil's advocate, and I'll try to retroactively make it make sense for me at least, so I can sleep at night. I think that the reason the internet went crazy and was angry at the family is because maybe there is like a moment where there's a screenshot of a comment or something that could verify this, but I think that the kind of idea that the movie's going for is that the fundraiser is near the end and someone posted the suicide note as the public understands it to be. And so I think that the implication is that they think that it's the family publishing this so that they will reach that fundraising goal. So that's that. But I hate it.
Yes.
Because there's a scene right before it where he shows Alana the note, and he's I think it's to prove that he was friends with him or something.
I don't remember.
I don't remember the context. Yeah, but it's after the scene where she's like, "Were you even friends with him?" And then he's like, "Oh, hey, look at this." And then he's like, "Don't show this to anyone because if it gets out, it could be terrible for the family." It's like, okay, telegraphing really hard.
Yeah.
And then, like the next scene, she's posting it on the gram, and I'm like, I understand that her motivation is to raise funds and to meet that fundraising goal. And even to play devil's advocate further, she gives a compelling reason why, because it's not because they want to raise the funds to get the orchard named after him and everything. It's not just because of that. It's because it's sending a message to kids who are struggling with mental illness and everything, to say that they matter and everything. And like, that's an admirable thing. But the leap from her receiving that and then posting it for selfish reasons, it's to your point again. They're not human characters. They are vessels for the drama of the story.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. Like, it's so frustrating. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. But the thing that I actually liked, and I'm going to say this with several asterisks, but the reveal that his fall from the tree was a suicide attempt.
Yeah.
That made me feel a little bit better about his really deplorable actions to an extent. I feel like that's trying to communicate that, like, okay, he sees himself in Connor because he tried to commit suicide himself. And so that is why he has such a visceral response to it. And he doesn't have, a traditional family. So like Connor's family taking him in is the kind of support and the energy, the positivity that he needs, even though it's him manipulating a grieving family. But I can understand that. And that's the thing that I think would have played a lot better if it wasn't concealed as a twist ending.
Right.
If it was just shown up front. And I will say, I was surprised. When it happened, I was like, well, yeah, duh, obviously. But I had no inclination. I had no thought that's what it was going for. So I liked that. And I liked that he gets told off quite severely and ostracized for what he did. And I even like that he does the research, that he finds, like, I got just a little bit choked up at the video of Connor playing the guitar.
Oh my God, that to counterpoint that,
sure,
that fucking pissed me off.
Interesting.
Because
okay,
who takes a video at a rehab meeting?
That's a good point.
You don't do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. I mean, I will 100% cop to the fact that it is emotionally manipulative toward the audience, and that it is something that is not that earned. Although I think that it is the most earned point of the movie. Like I got very it resonated with me. I thought that that's nice. That's a nice thing. It did not register with me that, they wouldn't do that, but I do like that it's a callback to his mother telling Evan that he would never play, Connor would never play for them and everything. Like I liked that. I don't think. And I do kind of like, I don't remember exactly what the conversation with him and Zoe was at the orchard at the end, but I like that they go their separate ways. Like the whole movie, I was like, I will take my pitchfork and just march wherever I need to go if he ends up with Zoe in this movie. Like I was so primed to be just incredibly angry because that would have just been unbelievable.
Right.
And I'm so glad it didn't happen.
Yes.
But yeah. But he does get like that where she's like, I wish we could have met now. It's like, okay, well, no, he's still like, yeah, he did something nice, but he's also a shitty person. I mean,
yes,
there's no other way around it.
Yeah, no, I am very glad that they did not end up together.
Yeah. Same here. Same here.
Although it probably would have been just as fitting in a stupid movie like this.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I had so little faith in the movie that I was preparing myself for that ending. Like I was so sure that they were going to go for that. I was so sure SM58 that they were going to go for that. Yeah. So is there anything else to talk in spoilers for Dear Evan Hansen?
No, probably not.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. I asked this of Sam last week when talking about Malignant, but I'll ask this to you. Are you going to nominate it for any IFJA awards?
Oh God. Is there a song category?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's a score category.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing that will piss me off though is if I don't know if there were any original songs for this, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were because that's what musicals do to try and get nominated for original song at the Oscars. Yeah. So it will. As much as I did not hate the songs, it will piss me off if this gets a song nomination.
I agree.
Because there are so many other musicals coming out this year. So
I think the fact that there are so many that it's a pretty stacked genre this year, I think that bodes well for Dear Evan Hansen kind of just falling by the wayside.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Yep. Okay, well, that is our review of Dear Evan Hansen. It is currently in theaters. Yeah.
The other bonkers thing about this, my friend works at the State Museum. This is showing at the State Museum in IMAX.
Oh, God. Wow.
Can you imagine paying, $17, $18 to see this in IMAX? Or that this was even shot in IMAX?
Right. Man. That, and I'm sure, I think it'll probably make a little bit of bank. I know it's getting kind of really harsh reviews from us and around Letterboxd and everything, but I do think it has that, it obviously has that fan base, so I'm curious to see how it does in terms of box office and general conversation.
Yeah,
so,
we'll see. I'm just glad I didn't have to spend money on it.
Yeah, same here.
And even gas money to try and get to a press screening.
Yeah, same here. All right, well, that's our review of Dear Evan Hansen and Cry Macho. I think we're going to probably forego Potpourri because it's late and we've yammered on for long enough. So, yeah, next time on the podcast, I don't know what we're going to be doing, but we will have something, I'm sure. Like I said, I am doing Foundation reviews on Patreon and Chapelwaite reviews and everything, so check that out. Ben, progress report on your Disney column on Midwest Film Journal and your Ted Lasso reviews.
Let's see. As of this recording, the newest episode is episode 10 of Ted Lasso season 2. There's only 2 more episodes to go. It's gonna be fun.
Nice.
I'm excited for where the show is going and where it could go.
Nice. We're going to hopefully, and I really, really hope that we'll be able to do this often, and it's all on me, really, but we'll hopefully do like a standalone episode for seasons 1 and 2 together.
It'll happen.
Oh, nice. Okay.
One way or another, it'll happen.
All right.
And Disney still going strong-ish. Let's see, what was this week?
I think today, did I see that? No.
Hunchback of Notre Dame 2.
Okay.
Next week is 101 Dalmatians 2.
Okay.
Which I kind of liked.
Oh, nice.
Be on the lookout. I think you were alluding to this. Be on the lookout for my Tarzan 2 review.
Yeah, I saw you checked into that.
When I go in super deep for that one.
Oh, God. That's gonna be fun.
I am. If you guys read any review from that series, read that one.
If you read any reviews of straight to home video Disney sequels this year, read Ben's Tarzan 2.
Block out your entire day, because you'll just be sitting thinking about it all day after you finish reading it.
Nice. All right, great. Well, as always, I'll put links in the show notes to all of your stuff and everything, as well as recent reviews that both of us have posted on obsessiveviewer.com. Almost forgot the name of the site. And yeah, as always, thank you for joining me, Ben. And we'll be back soon with another episode. And thank you guys so much for listening. And again, check out Patreon, Foundation reviews, Chapelwaite, and a lot of B-roll nonsense. So yeah. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. Overall, and I've got to imagine that Apple TV Plus wants to be in a position to have the show be profitable for many seasons. And as a fan of science fiction and a fan of at least the first book in the series, I'm all for that as well, because I would like to see this play out on a long-term level. But the voiceover narration kind of felt a little bit crutchy. Like it felt like it was a little bit of a crutch, a little bit of just over-explaining things just right from the outset with this veneer of vagueness and intrigue. Like, I don't think I needed Gail to tell the audience that, like, oh, I'd never been to Terminus, I'd never heard of Terminus, but now it's my life, or something, whatever it was. Like, I don't think we needed that. Also,
the Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by obsessiveviewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to obsessiveviewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. And follow us on Twitter at obsessiveviewer and at obsessivetiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at burger_lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, The Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!